I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Well, I tell you what, this may be the hardest one to pull off we've done yet.
But we're here.
Due to technical difficulties.
We started at 125. Richie has been splicing wires,
Feverishly.
unplugging, plugging
We
stuff
pulled
in.
out the duct tape on
That's
this one.
right.
It's 2:30, and we're just now, maybe. Yeah, Glenn, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, my
All
God.
right.
Woo,
There
hit
he
the
is.
horns for
Yeah.
Glenn. So on the line somehow is Glenn Garner. He hails from Georgia.
Georgia.
He may be the best bow hunter we have ever had on the podcast. I'm going to say he could be. Glenn, what do you say to that?
I say you're wrong, but that's you throwing me up there now, Bobby.
Well, I mean, you do have some pretty cool stats to go with that.
Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
good record book, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's, what is it, 26 Pope and Young whitetails, Glenn?
26 total, 21 in Georgia.
That's amazing.
But 26 whitetail.
That's a lot of whitetails.
That's a lot of whitetails.
I mean,
with a bow.
How many Pope and Young whitetails have you killed,
Yeah,
Bobby?
no, I have not killed one.
Right.
So name somebody that's got more than 5 or 6. I can't.
Todd.
can't.
Todd.
Well, Drury, the juries, yeah.
I bet
Todd
Todd-
Amonroot. I
yeah.
bet Todd's got them.
Yeah. Yep. Toxie, how many have you got?
I
He,
don't ever.
he doesn't measure them.
I've never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
there's a
know.
lot of
They're
people
pulling in the
like
book.
you that don't.
Dozen or so, maybe.
So, Glenn, we're excited to have you. Hope that our connection holds up. One thing I wanted to make sure I ask while we had you, is anybody seeing any soft-tooth acorns?
No.
I'm hearing everywhere.
They're non-existent this year. That's 2 years in a row for us too, Bobby. And that's really abnormal.
Yeah, I wonder what's up.
Dudley. That's a Ask Dudley right there.
Yeah, I've been getting phone calls just everywhere that they're not. People down near the coast, people kind of at the northern end, eastern, western, central.
It's kind of crazy.
I'd
I
like
will
to
say-
know if anybody does have any.
There you go.
I have not heard of anybody anywhere. I've got a bunch in my yard. There's a few scattered in places.
None in your yard? Or
Nothing. Not the first one.
Well,
And
Glenn,
so, I mean, but Dudley, it seems like the simplest explanation would be, springtime.
Yeah,
or frost,
blame it
but-
on a weather pattern or a drought.
But that wouldn't be everywhere to the coast.
No, that's what's odd about it.
what potentially could
Now,
it
the
be?
last 2 years we have had those sudden, unusual cold snaps.
Yes, early ones, late ones,
Yes,
and
and so-
extreme too.
So yeah, we had one. The year previous was the one that was the fastest drop in recorded history. That was got to like 5 degrees when it had been
Smoked
70.
everything.
12 hours before, and that had a guy on explaining that. But then last year it didn't do that, but it did get cold, really, really cold, and ice up hard. And that's all I can figure, unless we had some spring event when they budded all. But we didn't get that.
No.
Well,
there's-
at my house, I can say this: I've got sawtooths in the yard, and I've got plums too. We did have a late frost for us, and so it got my plum trees, and I attributed that late frost to not having any sawtooth oats either.
Yeah,
But, of course,
they can
I
do
mean,
it.
that's a deadly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it has to be at a certain. It's not like if we have a hard frost in like May and everything's leafed up for a month and a half already. I think they're okay, but it's a certain period when it can hit them. Isn't that right?
Yeah, and they're in their own taxonomic section. They're not related to anything in the white oak section or anything in the red oak section. So they kind of do their own thing. The only other related oak I can think of that's non-native that's in that section is European turkey oak, which there's
Yeah, I bet
folks plant those up north. But
what about the cork oak, which there's not many of? But that's
good one, Toxie. That is in the Ceres group.
Well,
like
I just said it,
sawtooth.
but yeah, it just looks just like it's why I said that. They look identical.
But I'd be interested to know if the few of those that are planted over here in North America, how they did this year as well.
I have yet to hear if anybody has them. That's actually, even when we sit here and talk to people about the white oaks or the red oaks, it's regional almost always, And I think
this is not. I mean,
no,
this is
it's everywhere.
across
It's everywhere.
the board.
Yeah. So if you've got any, holler at us. Let us know. We'd love to hear so we can kind of try to understand what may have caused this.
Yeah, we need some acorns too.
it's weather in some form.
So guys, what about now we can start doing blood on the biologic again.
It is
there's
hunting
been
season.
I got a couple guys. I don't know if
What
that
you
I
got?
Yeah.
Jason Hart
What? He's already
Yeah.
on the board.
killed a great big old deer.
Big
Nice.
mature 8-point looking
Yeah.
thing.
South
Kerry
Carolina.
Wicks killed a dadgum good one too.
He did. That was a big deer.
That wasn't your number 2, was it?
Of
That was
course,
my
Mark
number
Drury killed a giant.
Oh,
Yes.
and Coon Dog, he
Yeah.
killed a giant
Yeah,
too.
I don't have anything but giants. It's crazy.
Coon Dog.
And
Shout
I
out,
tell
buddy.
you, this is sad, but I got a text and talked to Kevin Van Dam
Yeah, he
yesterday.
sent me pictures. That's so sad.
He said that through EHD, he thinks he's lost 90% of his deer this year.
Good
so
grief.
sad. He sent me probably 5.
Where is he?
Big Dead, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, he
so-
said it's the worst EHD outbreak he's ever seen.
Yeah, that's
I've
tough.
So sad.
got an A for effort comment.
There you go.
Brody Swisher's son, Rimbo, had a swing and a miss.
Hey, it happens.
But it was his first time to, I think, bow hunt by himself. And anyway, he just looked like he still had a great time.
What
Yeah.
a cute kid.
Breathing hard.
You get toe up.
Let me tell you
That's for
something.
sure.
Those clean misses are way better than those
That's
hit,
right.
not recoveries.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
for sure.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. So, hey, Glenn, one of the first things I want to ask, we kind of hit on it a little bit, but I want to ask and get everybody's opinion. Not everybody puts a deer, if they kill a deer with a bow and it's over 125 or whatever the minimum is, puts them in the record books. What are your thoughts there on the Pope and Young book? What is the kind of the motivation for putting it in, and maybe reasons that you wouldn't put one in?
Well, for me, Bobby, I kind of stopped entering them into the Pope and Young record books. I've always gotten them certified and scored. For one, it costs money to put them in. And two, in my opinion, I mean, I've got them here on the wall. I know the story behind them, and I know that I killed them. And I didn't see it necessary to spend the money to put them in there, to be honest with you. Now, I like to get all of them a certificate for all of them, and I keep those in a file in my office. But as long as I've got a certified Pope and Young score to give me a certificate, I'm good with that.
Yeah. So, but you've paid a lot of attention, like to the Georgia record books, haven't you?
Yeah, mainly just because of where I live. That's where I grew up. That's where it all started for me. Now, I've killed deer in other states that's made the books, but I've never entered any of those. To me, I don't know. I've never like sought recognition for killing deer, but it's always just been fun for me. Now I'm all support Pope and Young, and I'm glad there's record books that we can go back and look at. And fortunately for us, we have Georgia Outdoor News magazine here that keeps up phenomenal records just for the state of Georgia, and they've got just an archive of records, what's going on in the last 25 years here in Georgia, and that's kind of our Pope and Young book for our state anyway.
Yeah. So has Foxworthy Farms over there, have y'all contributed to any of the top 5 top Georgia whitetails?
They have.
Like for the whole state or for for the whole state, I think Big Mo still ranks like in the top 7 or 8 maybe all time. He grossed 218 and netted 204. We've got I think Jeff's buck, the one he killed,
What Will
in
Smith?
2018.
What Will Smith scored?
Will Smith didn't net really well. When you go to
Okay,
talking about
yeah,
record books,
yeah.
you're talking about net. A lot of people,
That's the
frown
downside.
on net.
Yep.
But The deer he killed in 2018, I think, is in the top 5 all typical ever killed with a bow in the state.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
much so. And you know,
He's number 1 for Harris County. He's Harris County's all-time typical archery record, and the year before, I held the record for 1 year. So
Good for you.
I got it in 2017, and then he knocked me out in 2018.
How
Well,
about
this
that?
is your buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, Dudley.
Yeah, he's my buddy.
yeah, I was just going to say, I think you were kind of hinting at this with your question that, you know, a lot of folks may have a spot on private land and they don't necessarily want, you know, everybody to know that Larry Jones killed a deer in Holmes County or whatever. And then you can go look that, you know, so,
I
right.
agree.
so folks are, I get it, you
It
know.
could be. It
I
just
get it
needs to
too.
be. Honestly, it just needs to be not taken too serious and be fun. If someone does and they want to, and it does, I mean, that's great. And if they don't, that's great.
Well, here's the thing for me. If I ever wanted to go back and have them officially recorded in the Pope and Young book, I've got my certificates, and I can always do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
My thing is just keep it fun no matter what.
I'd
you
be
know?
all over it. I think that'd be cool to be able to look up my name somewhere.
Glenn, what does it cost to put one in there? I need to be setting some money to the side, I think.
You know, back when
Wow, Bobby.
I was entering them in the book, it was $25 a pop. Now I think it's even more. I haven't put one in the Pope and Young books in probably 10 years. I'm not sure exactly what it costs now.
Well, the one thing relevant to Glenn being here for everybody should know today is way more important than him, because he is an assassin in the stand. I've been on elk hunts out there with him. Just unbelievable hunter. But the biggest thing, though, that can aid everybody out there is that not only does he have experience as far as a land manager, a wildlife, a whitetail man, he lives with them every day for almost his whole life. It's not like he goes and travels to some farm and works around. He literally lives with these deer in that place, you know, for whatever, decades and decades. So that right there, I mean, he understands their behavior so much more than just about anybody I know. Now, given the other part of that is, as far as, you know, managing the land, not just that he has the most gorgeous food plots. He understands, and so does Jeff, the holistic management of every acre, you know, even where you've got forest trees. I mean, they have gone to the nth degree to manage for the deer and the deer herd. And so we could have multiple podcasts picking his brain and help people should be listening to it. I just had to get that in so people that catch the first half of that pay attention to the questions Bobby's asking that we asked Glenn, because I don't know anybody who's done a better job. I really don't.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Toxie. That means a lot. But I caught the part of that y'all's podcast the other day when you had the extension agent from Kentucky talking about alfalfa, and thank you for your compliment in there with him too. And I had to laugh because Army Warrens wore me out this year. they got me bad.
Oh,
So
they're awful.
They got probably 50 acres of alfalfa on one side of the creek, and I just replanted the other side, and I'm about to plant the south side now. So,
You know, I don't know anybody across the South that I know has had as much success as he's had with alfalfas, because and I know he did it through skint knuckles, I'm sure, but you know, he's further south than we are even, and had great success with alfalfas.
Hey guys, listen up. Let me tell you about an awesome deal Springfield Armory is offering now through the end of 2024. When you purchase a brand new model 2020 Waypoint or Redline rifle, you'll receive a model 2020 Rimfire rifle with a black synthetic stock absolutely free. That's an over $400 value on the house. You know we love Springfield Armory and their top-notch products you'd be proud to hand down to your kids and grandkids. So why wait? Learn more about this incredible offer at GearUp2024.com. Springfield Armory. Defend your legacy.
Glenn, what I'm hoping to do today, I want to ask I want our group to ask you a few questions about growing big deer and the importance of food plot and some other tips and techniques that you've used to grow big deer. But I also want to, before we get off, I want to talk about identifying and hunting a big deer. Mm-hmm. And my first question to you, I'm just kind of maybe hoping that I'm onto something here, but let's just say you've patterned a big deer and you kill him, and he's the first one on on a certain property that you've got. Can you kind of back up and go, okay, now if nothing really changes around here, another may not be next year, but there'll be another big one right here that will probably behave the same way, probably walk the same trails. And would you have identified a way or a place that you could start killing big deer?
It's funny you should say that, Bobby, but yeah, you're exactly right. A lot of times, from years back, I mean, I've got a lot of history with this place. I started on it started hunting it in the probably late 80s, early 90s. So it's been a few years here, and through an era of figuring out different areas. And after the change of ownership, we really got to fine tune the place and set it up the way we wanted it. But year after year, it seems like if I have to adjust or move a stand, it's only, 30, 40 yards. Just if you get a certain tree you like, it tends to be, big bucks. I don't know. It's just a setup. They like certain setups, and that you can usually find one, if not every year, every other year in that same general pattern and area. But you're exactly right with what you were going with that.
I think Bobby was asking that for his own benefit.
Well,
because he's got his nose on one right now.
Is he on one?
Yes, he is.
Well, I don't know.
He is locked in.
Well, I'm just wondering if it works out that way, because I've never really had some.
You're being evasive. You sound like a presidential debate candidate, but evading the question.
Well, turkeys are the same way, though.
Turkeys? What are you talking about?
You pluck a turkey out somewhere. I mean, you're grinning. But over time, you learn.
Well, the
they're going
difference
to be
is
right here, and they're going to do this.
Well, I mean, turkeys are sitting there hollering at you and giving themselves up and whatever. Deer do not do that. It's big, big difference.
Yeah, Lanny, you got a question?
Yeah, just you got to get them that big before you can shoot them. So and I know we've talked to you a lot about your food plots, but just what is the cornerstone, I would say, of your food plotting program?
I think that what would be the cornerstone of our whole management plan is our understory and cover.
Yes.
Versus anything else that we do. I would attribute our understory to, in my opinion, would be number one out of the block. Right behind it would be our plot program. And then I'd say, any supplemental feeding or anything after that would, be dead last. But it's all factored together. But without a doubt, I'd say cover and the lagoons that's grown naturally out in our understory.
Yeah.
We've had, different schools up here to take samples of different forage plants that's in our understory, and just the levels and the protein content that's out there is incredible. So we've gone to great lengths, to really promote that over the years, opening up the tree canopy in different areas, and mainly working in our pine plantation, leaving most of our natural hardwood drains intact, just as travel corridors, and that's usually where we find ourselves during the rut in late season. We kind of stay out of there until then. But I think first and foremost, we learned a long time ago, you can grow these deer and have these deer certain times of the year, but if you don't have the cover that lets them feel safe and comfortable, then they'll leave. And I see that and work with guys a lot down here that, they'll have deer certain times of the year, then all of a sudden they're gone, which is they're just mainly traveling through. But years ago, one of the biggest things that we did is really start concentrating on taking our does early. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, about, imprinting our deer on these food plots. By taking these does early, you take that mother away from that button head, then, that's still, he's he might be totally weaned, but most of them are still, nursing once or twice every day or every other day. Well, that food plot that you take that doe and that baby that's standing there away from it, that food plot becomes its mother. Well, that's where it gets its food, its nutrients, and it can still feed in the feeders. But that nucleus of a food plot there becomes, the center point of its home range. So we greatly condensed their travel patterns over the past 10 years. We used to, early on before our cover started really growing in, and making these deer feel safe, we'd see a lot of deer, but we'd lose a lot of deer, just like anybody else to the neighbors. So we really started hammering these does early, and it just made a big difference on cutting the home range of these big bucks down at an early age.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
that's newsworthy to everyone.
I love shooting does early.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
We do too, and I think it's foremost important now. I mean, from what we've done to watch these deer, condense their home range over the last 10 years has been incredible. And that's kind of what the pattern we've been on. And I think it works without a doubt. We keep and hold and house more big deer now than we ever have.
I've kind of always talked about being a proponent of that, and I don't always practice what I preach on it, but I never thought about that aspect of it, quite honestly. What another big benefit to that, what he's talking about is, you get them off. Some of the most successful people I know of always tried to do that, and they're just taking the mouths off before all the food's eaten, and actually making that rut that year so much better, and taking the pressure off their deer for the year. Because if you're taking mouths off to aid in the getting your property in balance with the carrying capacity, he's right. Absolutely.
And their rut is earlier than most folks in the South. Am I right, Glenn? And so,
yes,
for most part, everybody south of us, even 15 miles across the river is January rut, whereas we're 1st of November. 15th November is about our peak rut.
So we're mid to late December around here. So when we get our does off early, they have a lot more time to kind of recover and begin feeling safe again. But it's still working for you guys. So that's a good sign right there.
Yeah, man. Here's another one I was going to get to too. And what I just mentioned, but this I experienced a lot, is if you're nipping at your does all the time, you're not going to have the quality of hunting for the mature bucks. That's just a fact. So what you're saying is just
lean on them.
Get on them, lean on them, wear them out, and be done with it. Helps the quality of the hunting for the rest of the year. Because I've known some people that finally made a rule, no shooting, and that's what everybody here loves to do. Go to the food plot, shoot your does in the afternoon. You're going to see a lot of deer. Does always come out. I like sausage. I mean, we're all in that game. But it is deteriorating over time, especially the quality of hunting at your food plot when you shoot stuff in the afternoons all the time. So, I mean, there's really multiple reasons to do what Glenn said with your does and try to harvest it. I even remember we had one of our, I won't call his name, but a buddy of ours, and he orders a lot of product from us not far from here, has a big place, wonderful place, a lot of big deer, a lot of turkeys. And they actually went to the extent of inviting this huge crew of people to bow hunt the beginning of bow season to try to push it back all the way to that early in the year and take them off. And they always had great success and great quality hunting. So,
we've got a big crew coming in. I mean, we've killed already, we're 2 weeks in, and we killed 10 already. And I've got a big crew coming in for the next couple of days. But we hammer them hard early.
So, Glenn, I want to make sure that I'm not just jumping to a conclusion, because sometimes I get all my exercise jumping to conclusions from down here. But are you saying that if you kill that was pretty good, Lanny.
I thought it was good. Toxie didn't like it as much.
He's
trying
hard.
to keep a stone face on.
He's hard. And Glenn's around comedians. Glenn knows that was good.
I mean, that's why.
Don't put yourself comparing yourself.
Yeah, Bobby, that was it. To even use your name in the same sentence with that.
But Glenn, are you saying, Richie? Okay, we're there. Are you saying that if you kill Mama, she might not run off that button buck normally where she would run him off and he might go a mile away.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Interesting.
You take that mama away from baby.
They don't disperse.
Food plot that you take that doe in becomes mama to that button head. Whereas you let mama run him off, mama could run that buck off to, the neighbor's place, and then it's going to take up a food plot or the next closest food source, where that becomes the center point of his home range.
Never thought
versus
about that.
where you take it out, off of your place.
Mother.
Yeah. Then you're not dependent on somebody else to send you their bucks.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
More reason to shoot does.
Yeah. So
like I need some more.
So Glenn, I've got another question for you that I feel like you're one of these people that's qualified to answer this, but how do you deal with developing a relationship over 3 or 4 years with a deer, and you watch him grow up? You feel like he's yours, and then a neighbor ends up killing him. How do you emotionally deal with that?
How many of those scenarios you want me to go through? It happens, It happens, and it's happened to us several times. And, good for my neighbors is all I can say.
Yeah,
It used to, get under my skin a little bit. And we've lost some nice ones. But really, there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing to control it. Once rut hits, he goes wherever he wants to go, and it could be miles. So, and we've watched that happen. Even with Big Mo, when I first started getting Big Mo's picture, we killed that deer 3.5 miles from where I was getting his picture in the summer. So they're wild. They're gonna go wherever mama takes them, or wherever that smell comes from. They're headed that way.
Yeah, that's the thing about the rut. I have to remind myself. I tell people that, but I have to remind myself it's not some schedule. I'm going to Missouri on the 10th of November. It's the greatest. It'll be on then, but the rut is a deer to deer, doe to doe, buck to buck thing. It's not a schedule. And so if that buck gets with a doe and she's the one, and he's got to stay with her till it's time to breed, he's going to go wherever she goes, and it really don't matter. In fact, Glenn could probably tell you stories of, you could just about walk up and knock him in the head. If he doesn't run off, she doesn't run off, he probably stands right there. Even if you ride up in a truck.
Oh, I've been caught in those rut parties. I know you guys, much time you've been, that y'all spend in the woods, you've seen those rut parties go on, and it's crazy how they just lose their mind in that moment.
Yeah, Bobby used to have rut parties in college.
That was Roberto. That was Roberto. That was not Bobby.
Right.
I don't know.
Roberto.
So this
changing the subject.
Dudley, you got a question?
I do. So Glenn, you guys have this place really tricked out and put in all this work. And I know your number one game is having that thick cover that they can eat and hide in. But, you guys are targeting bucks with bows and arrows, and you got to get them within 30 or 40 yards of the stand. Are there any tricks y'all are doing to get them to, I know you're probably setting up on natural, terrain features or whatever, but are y'all manipulating anything to get them to, come through a certain area?
That's a great question.
I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. If you want to kill a big deer early, and if you want to pick up a copy of GON, I think there's a lot of people picking up on this now, because there's a lot of big deers already hit the ground in Georgia. But our deer, with the aid of the cell cameras now,
yeah,
you can really, really study these deer. And what I do, we run open free choice feeders. And especially when you go through a drought like we just went through and our food plots are not up yet, they will get feed dependent for a period of time before those food plots get up and green. So what I had done the last few years, I've got an old rickety wagon that we put a ton of feed in, and we drive around and I shovel it, or my help, Ruben, shovels it in our feeders. And I try to do this at the same time every day. say 4, 5 o'clock, the same time, you know, that if I'm putting out hunters or if I'm going to a stand, that's the time I'd be going in. So I'll drive around these feeders, and then I'll go and I'll watch which buck shows up at, you know, at that right after I feed. And those are the bucks we target early on, because deer condition themselves to a farm. They get so used to the patterns, they pattern us. They hear gravel in a certain place that you hadn't heard gravel. Well, they'll usually go the other way. But these deer also, you can use that to your benefit with this old rickety wagon that we got. It'll bump down through there, and we stop and we fill up those feeders, and we go to the next one, we go to the next one, and then I'll feed stands individually in the woods. And I'll watch these cameras and which buck shows up right after I feed, and that's where we go. And that's how we kill them early. So don't think for 1 minute that they won't get conditioned on these feed and what time you feed. And if you got a deer that's not wanting to come out, you know, then what I do is set up an alternate program. If he won't come to a feeder before dark, then I'll give him a special place for himself. And it's usually within 20 or 30 yards of a lock-on that I just put up. So that's worked for us tremendously in the last several years.
Define a special place. What would that look like?
All right. So a lot of these places, I know pretty much where the bedding areas are, because that's where we pick up all the sheds to and from those. And pretty much all of those are defined, and we know each one of them. We know where we pick up most of the sheds. And usually, you know, our nucleus is the big bottom fields, and then we put a little killing field right up on top or near that area that they bed, just to get them to stop in. Usually I'll have a feed station there, but if we can't get a deer to the feeder, you know, before dark, then what we'll do is back up halfway between, set up a lock on, and start feeding him there. 9 times out of 10 on about every big deer, he'll get comfortable coming in there, and you got 1 or 2 shots at him before, you know, he figures out the gig. But I mean, that's led to us killing a lot of big deer early the last 2 or 3 years.
You know, I'm sure of this when I ask you, but you still, that having done that and having like taken patterning to a whole nother level, you still, I'm assuming, always are just as cautious about everything else. Wind, extra noise pollution they're not used to, you know, plenty of cover in the stand. You mean, I'm sure that number one above all of that too is that you don't, after all that work, you blow it by, you know, not having a good wind for that hunt. You mean, you may mess up your whole, you know, everything you've done work on. Is that right?
That's right. And usually if we've got big deer, you know, that's in the center core of the property, we'll take a little more of a risk going in on a, you know, non-steady wind or almost still area. Every bow hunter that's out there, I've sat in the stand just picturing my scent drifting this way and that way. You just feel like it just clouds up, you know, when there's no wind, and you know it's not going to happen. And they always 9 times out of 10 will catch you. Now, if he's in the core part of our property, we may risk a hunt on a mediocre wind or just a still afternoon, versus if we've got a deer on a perimeter where if we did bump him, then he could go somewhere else. We try not to mess with those deer until we've really got them good pattern with a good wind.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation. Redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done. Making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
Hey, Lanny.
Hey, Bobby.
Have you ever wondered if your feeder went off, or if it's even got corn in it?
Yeah, you sit there at night wondering about it.
Moultrie has solved this. This is some high-tech stuff.
Fits on any feeder that helps monitor the level of feed and lets you know if it went off or not. And you can remotely control it.
Can I look at your feeder if we're on the hub?
I really hope not, but we're going to have to talk to the guys at Moultrie about that. This is the biggest thing in feeders since corn.
That's saying a lot.
With Feed Hub, there's no more stressing, no more guessing. This technology allows you to remotely monitor your feeders.
You know, we always say feed safely, do it the right way.
No doubt about it.
So to learn more about it, visit moultrieproducts.com/feedhub. It's a great invention.
Unbelievable technology and products brought to us by our buddies at Moultrie.
Glenn, it sounds like cell cameras probably play a big role in how you're doing. What kind of cameras are you using?
We're running Spartans right now, and y'all, I'll be honest with you. I said this when Bobby said we was going to do this. I thought about all my stuff in the past. I didn't even really prepare for what's going on for today. But years ago we didn't have cell cameras, and that's been the biggest game changer of anything in the last few years.
Yeah,
now without those guys, it would be, we're back to, like, I know several of y'all. I know Toxie did it, Lanny, all of y'all used to find a persimmon tree early that was dropping, or if you ever found a white oak that was dropping a little early, that's where we were going to go. And to me, now it's a whole different ball game. You got cell cameras and you got the ability to feed, so it's kind of changed everything that we grew up, learning how to hunt and what we used to do years ago.
Yeah,
totally different now.
Honestly, and the biggest benefit of the cell phone, I mean, the convenience is off the charts, but not having to go intrude on his spot all the time to know what's going on is
right.
It is, and honestly, it's getting to be a little controversial, but certainly can't blame anybody for using the tools that are legal and whatever. With the controversy, it could probably be abused some, but it has taught us so much.
Yes.
Just like what Glenn's talking about. Yeah. I mean, even if they decided you can't use them anymore, you have learned so much, it's going to make you so much better at it now, in the future, even.
I bet you still start shaking when they walk up.
Gosh.
Yeah. The day that stops is the day I'll stop. So, I think that's true with probably any one of us.
Y'all are giving those deer the best life possible. I mean, you're doing all the cover, the food plots, everything first.
That's the point of being a gamekeeper.
So, Glenn, these cell cameras and just cameras in general, and just Europe, I mean, we all use them. We all depend on them. But do you think these, like the upper end, most mature deer, do you think they kind of figure this thing out? They're aware of them. They're spooked by them. Or do you have any kind of anecdotal evidence comment to make about that?
Well, the deer that we have here grew up around them. So I would say when cell cameras first came out, which was the exact same time, I started up Rocky Branch, the big hunting plantation here. And that was the year before that we killed Big Mo. I saw the deer, and there wasn't a deer on this place that had seen a camera or a bait station or a feeder before that. And that deer would not. I mean, I was getting 15 different bucks on the feeder closest to him, and where I saw him, he was 200 yards away from one of those feeders. So I put cameras, really concentrated cameras around that feeder, never could get him. And this deer I knew without a doubt was special. I mean, he had a 160-inch deer standing with him, and this deer was so much bigger, and I knew it was the biggest deer I'd ever seen in my life. And I wanted to get a picture of him. This was the first year I had ever used cell cameras. And so I went to where he was at, and I started feeding without a camera. And I fed and fed and fed, and I got a ton of deer pulled into that spot. I never put a camera on it. I just kept feeding for 2 straight weeks. I'd feed every couple of days, 2 straight weeks. And then I went in there, fed, slapped the camera on it. I got 4 pictures of him that night, and I never got another picture of him until we killed him, which was, during the rut that same year. So this was late summer of 2000, and we killed him that fall, but that was the only 4 pictures I ever got of that deer. So back then, it was strange to them. Now these deer don't seem to mind it at all. We've got a couple that are nice. This year we've got a 4-year-old that's outstanding, and he'll give you every angle he's got, and he don't mind it at all. So
Well, I hadn't thought about
But
that, but
yeah,
if they grew up with them, that would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
It really would. Yeah.
yeah, they've walked past them since day one, so they're not really camera shy at all now.
Glenn, while we're here, you've brought up Big Mo a time or two. Can you tell us the story of getting him killed?
Yeah. So Big Mo is, like I've told you before, I think he still ranks I know he still ranks in the top 10 all time for Georgia. But this was the first year that I was running Rocky Branch Plantation, which was a 12,500 acre plantation. And this was our first year out of the gate. And I took those trail cameras and put them in GON and actually sold. This was our first year running. So that summer I booked several hunts just from pictures of him. And our hunts were cheap, back then they were probably, I think, $2,500 for a 3-day hunt. And I used from our first year's camera survey, which I didn't even know how to run a camera survey back then, but I got a good feel of how many mature bucks was on the 12,000 acres. And then I determined how many deer of those mature bucks I wanted to kill to determine how many hunts I wanted to book. Anyway, we booked every one I wanted to book, and I knew if I booked Bowhunters, they was fine with seeing big deer. They didn't have to kill a deer, but if they got to see a big deer, they would be back. And gun hunts, was a different ballgame. Gun hunters, of course, it's not in nothing against them, but they're used to killing deer. I get that. So I knew I wanted to cater more to the bow hunting side. But anyway, long story short, I booked there's actually still a friend of mine today. He brought in some industrial painters. He was in the industrial paint business, and he brought in a bunch of customers. Steve's deal with his guests were, now look, Glenn's got a trophy fee on anything above 135-inch deer. So I'm going to pay for your hunt, but if you choose to shoot a deer above 135 inches, then you pay the 150 an inch. Well, we started Steve's hunt, and this was day one I think he had 5 guests up here, and this was our first gun hunt right off the bat. So we go out, we had our guide meeting. I had 6 hunters total. Each one of us got 2, and we decided, which areas we were going to. I had Steve, and I let the guy from Jacksonville out of the truck, and he starts walking toward his stand, and I see him. He gets almost out of sight because I'm waiting. I said, just go over the hill. There's a ladder stand on the right on the edge of this field. You'll be fine right there. Just sit here until dark, and I'll come back and get you. Well, he gets to the top of the hill, and he turns around, and I'm almost to the point where I can't see him, and I look back, and he's running toward the truck. And I jump out of the truck. I said, "You okay?" And he said, "Hey, there's a big buck in the field." And I'm thinking, well, this guy's from Jacksonville, never hunted. I said, "Was he by himself?" And he said, no, he had a doe with him. And I said, "Look, we're real close to the rut." I said, "That doe's probably in heat. Just get back in the stand, and that doe will bring that deer back out." And I was knowing in my heart that deer's gone. He was probably just out there feeding early. So anyway, he comes back in the stand. I take Steve to his stand. Well, right before dark, I'm sitting, because this is 10 miles from the camp. This thing's 13 miles long to the property, and I'm sitting where I can hear. I hear a shot, and then I hear another shot, and I knew it was, my hunter. And so Steve's calling me on the phone. He said, I think you just shot. And I said, "Yeah, I think so." So I pull into the field at dark to pick him up. And when I turn the corner and see what's laying out in the middle of that field, I was in utter disbelief. And I knew which deer it was as soon as the lights hit him. There's nothing around that was that big. And so he comes running out to me, and he's happy, and we high-fiving and hugging, and it took, I had to call another guy to help me load him up in the truck. We got him in the back of the truck, and I'm calling Steve. I said, "Look, your guy just killed this deer. And he's beyond excited. We're headed to get you." And he said, "Well, get over here. I can't wait to see you." So Steve knew which deer it was too. And we had no idea where the deer was at. Like I said, it's 3.5 miles from when we got his picture. So I'm driving over there, and Steve's on an incline on the side of another food plot, and I'm pulling up to get him and going up this hill. And Steve's already climbed down, and he comes straight to the truck, looks in the back, and I jump out excited, man. We're all high-fiving, and I look back, and the deer's gone.
What?
I forget to close the tailgate on the truck, and I dump him out down by the lake. So we had to backtrack to find this 200-inch deer. Luckily, there was no kickers or anything knocked off of him. So we load him back up, go back into camp. And long story on this was, anyway, the guy that shot the deer, he never did pay the trophy fee. The trophy fee on the deer was $12,500. Steve actually paid it. And this deer is actually with Steve today.
Goodness
That's the
gracious.
story of Big Mo.
$12,500.
At
Premium.
$150 an inch.
And that was 20-something years
Hey,
ago.
if Mr. Fox would say, a deal's a deal.
A deal's a
son.
deal. That's right.
It was a deal.
A deal's a deal. You shook hands, you write the check.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll take
Yeah.
a check.
Well, I mean,
Here's the thing is that the guy actually missed the deer at 30 yards with a rifle. And he takes off running. He did come back out with that doe, but I'd never in the world dreamed that he would. So the deer, after he shoots and misses him, runs about 30 more yards and stops, and he hits him in the base of the neck. And
wow.
like I said, it was his first time, never even been in the woods before, never knew. Had no idea what he was shooting at or anything, but that's just the way it goes.
Man, beginner's luck in deer hunting is a real thing.
It is a very
It's
real
amazing
thing.
how often stuff happens. I've never heard quite to that degree, but it's happened a lot with people I've taken.
So what did Big Mo end up scoring?
218 and netted 204.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Lanny. Lanny, hey, Glenn, hang on. Let me ask this question. Lanny, if you
What?
were in the stand and Big Mo had walked out
He would not have
and
shot
you
him,
had
I
done the
guarantee.
math,
12-5.
yeah, would you have,
It'd
what
been
would you,
tough on a brother.
what would you have
Well,
done?
here's
I
the thing
probably
with
would
him.
not have shot.
All we had to go on was the trail camera pictures, and I sent them to a lot of, I sent them to a lot of good friends that's in the industry, several biologists, just to get an estimation on what. I knew he was over 170, and I knew he was probably close to 190, but I had no idea he was over 200 inches. I'll tell you who's the closest reference I used, and that was Jay Gregory. He said, Glenn, that deer is no doubt over 200 inches. I'll bet my house on it.
Yeah,
And he was right.
it's hard to get right on a trail. I've sent a
Yeah.
couple of deer to Mark Drury before because he's so good at that too. And, you know, I'm usually overestimating them on the truck, but at the same time, and you know this, you can take the same deer with the same camera, but just at a different angle and distance, and they look 20, 30 inches difference.
It'll get you.
To me, they do sometimes.
Yeah, especially when they're walking away, though.
Yeah, and I mean, someone who's really good at looking at them and doing that. Well, first question they almost always ask you is like, now you know your deer. What's that deer weigh? You know, it could be. It looks like he's 250 and he doesn't weigh but 160 or something. You know, or of course in the Midwest they weigh 250 or more all the time. But
Yeah, I think Big Mo actually weighed like 240.
Golly,
But
that's
yeah,
a
he
big
just
deer.
looked like a cartoon character next to what a deer that we
Isn't that
knew
crazy?
for a fact was 160. So he just absolutely dwarfed him.
Wow.
wow,
Yeah, there's just something different when you'll know. I mean, when they just look like when they look unrealistic, then you know you got a giant.
Yeah, when you
That's
know they're giant.
Kind of
they're
been my
giant.
experience with them.
Bobby.
Like Will Smith, he wasn't white, like overly white. He's just extremely tall. He just
Really
looked
tall.
like a
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah, he was a tall one.
he
His
was.
rack didn't fit his body,
Yeah, just for people's because he didn't just have these super tall points, which he did, enormous, but his whole beams went straight up too.
Mhm.
So what was his height from his base of his horns to the top of the tallest G2?
Oh, Toxic, we measured them at one time and it was stupid. And I forgot what it was, but it was incredible.
Couple of feet.
No, I would think it was at least 24
Yeah,
inches.
yeah. I was
More than that,
thinking
no.
like 28 inches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
his
was
main
gonna say,
beams
I
were
would've guessed. I
that
saw 'em.
big.
Well, you sent the picture, and what was funny, people may have heard this before because we did talk about it before. It's so funny. He sent the pictures, but then when Jeff was sending a message out or
Text,
calling.
yeah.
It's like, I've killed Will Smith. I've killed Will Smith.
Yeah.
And I was like, if that got out to the public, that probably
It could
wouldn't
be
go over
rough.
too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
But I
story.
remember
Yeah.
getting the text on that was crazy.
You know, Will had that monstrous flat top.
That's right.
That's what
right.
I
That's
thought it
where
was
it
from.
came from.
100%. Yeah.
And then, you know,
Yeah.
there was those other guys, Kid and Play, who had
Yeah.
even taller
They
flat
did.
tops.
That's true.
They're so good at naming deer too. We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's an
have
art form.
I have one a miniature version of that, but it was really not very wide, but super tall, and I just called him Sky, which is that's
Sky
kind of
High,
a boring name,
yeah.
but I called him Sky. What are some of y'all's names, Glenn? Because y'all have
We-
obviously you work for
We had
the
a sky, but he was a skyscraper. We
Right.
called him skyscraper. He was actually killed by Hal McGinnis. I think that deer gross 174, netted into 160. But he was a 6x5, and I had a 3-year-old that he was one of the biggest 3-year-olds that I knew for sure was a 3-year-old, and I think he was mid-70s as a 3-year-old that we call Woody, and you know why. So then we've had we've had some good ones. This year we got a Nacho Libre, a General Lee, a Sherman, a Lefty. Yeah, there's some. Jeff went with the wrestler theme there for a couple years too.
everybody's name. We had the legendary deer of the place we used to hunt back here. We called him Kahuna.
I thought it was Braveheart.
Now Braveheart was out on my place.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
Braveheart.
And I
Braveheart
mean,
was
I'm pretty sure no one ever killed Braveheart.
I don't think we didn't heard about it
No,
if they
we
did.
would have
He was a
about him.
giant.
Yeah,
Most
he
of
was.
mine and Bobby's are like 230-pound deer with 115 inches on the top. So we name them after their body size.
Yeah.
Like
That's right.
pork chop.
That's right.
That's right.
Pork chop. We do you. Yeah.
Sausage boy.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the name. I enjoy
do,
the
it's
names
funny.
people give to deer,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
enjoy the names people give to their properties too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Ponderosa.
well, that is not correct. So Jeff's over there. Do y'all still call it the old home place?
Well, he spawned that into the beloved,
The
Right.
beloved.
the
home
beloved home place.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, that's right. The
That's a
beloved.
great. That's a
The
great
name of
name
it.
for
Oh, the
your
beloved.
land.
Yeah, the beloved.
I mean, short of your family and your Lord and Savior, nothing more beloved than your land.
Yeah.
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 That's cool.
Jeff has got to be so much fun to hang around over there.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, do you just pinch yourself every day?
Man, I couldn't have handpicked a better guy to go to work for, and it was just the Lord putting me in the right place at the right time.
It was.
We hit it off from the day we met, and our initiatives and our goals have always been on track. We've never had gotten sideways in 25 years of being around each other, almost sometimes daily for weeks. You know, he's taken me all over the world hunting, and it's been an experience. You know, I just thank the Lord every day for that chance encounter, and it was just, I don't know, I just feel like I'm truly been blessed, and we've never checked up from day one. Our goals and mindset have always been keyed in and making this place 10 times better than we found it. And I think at the end of the day, when we take our boots off, if we've done that, then we've done our job.
You know,
He really is. I mean, I know most people probably know this, but for all his fame and everything, he is absolutely the most personable,
Most humble, down to
earth
earth guy
and-
you'll ever meet.
and caring, and just the things he's done for people, underprivileged people, needy people, hungry. I mean,
It's
the homeless. It's
always
unbelievable.
doing that. If he's not on the road doing shows, then he's usually doing charity events and speaking engagements for just causes like that.
I mean, his life
Yeah.
is a ministry, and I hope people with all the, will just always appreciate him for that, because we know behind the scenes about it,
Yeah.
and he's a role model for me. I guarantee you, if I could even a tenth of what he has done and cared, because you don't look. That's another thing for people. You don't have to be of great resources to have the great giving heart. Just like, just like tithing at church. And I mean, some people are giving way more, even if it's less, in my opinion, because so much of what's given's about is your heart. and I won't go on about Jeff now, but I have to say that sometimes because I would hate for someone to not know that about him. Is all.
Glenn, we refer to him as our favorite gamekeeper, but more importantly, he's just a great person. So I mean, that's enough on
It
that.
changed, even though it just changed your life just to be around him a little bit. I can't imagine, Glenn, what it's been like for you. You know.
Oh yeah. He's been just a gracious influence on me, and just the thing, just to be around it and watch it from as close as I am to it. But seeing it every day, it's just like I said, I'm just blessed. And,
so Glenn, let me ask you. Let me get back to hunting here. You got a son, Grayson, that looks like he's following in your footsteps, and he's enjoys the outdoors. Big bow hunter. If you are, what are you teaching him if he's going to go hunting one afternoon by himself, and maybe you're working and you've got something to do? Are you teaching him some way to exit out of that stand if there are deer in the field or something? What do you do if you're by yourself and there's nobody that can come pick you up?
okay. Oh, if it's on a deer that we definitely don't want to bump, don't want to spook, or if he's just in there, shooting does, because he's got a job to do when he's down here. He's going to be shooting does, and then once he gets his does down, then he can shoot him a buck. And he knows that. But if he's hunting a deer and we don't want to spook him, I'll always just either he's going to have somebody to pick him up, or I'm going to pick him up from the stand. I'd much rather somebody drive in there with a vehicle than him climb down while deer are in the area and just, blow the spot out. So it's always been kind of a standard around here, especially when you're setting your green fields. Those deer can only take so much pressure, and we rotate them as much as we can rotate them. We don't hammer a spot 2 days in a row. I don't like hunting fields, 2 days a week, much less 2 days in a row. 2 days a week is pretty hard pressure in my opinion.
The Furminator is the industry's most versatile piece of food plot equipment, allowing plotters to do every step of the process, working the soil, adding seed and soil supplements, and compacting, from start to finish with a single implement. It's hassle-free by design. Set it for the seed size and simply drive the tractor, and the Furminator does the rest. Check it out at thefurminator.com.
Nosler is known for their bullets, and now they're making suppressors. Nosler suppressors are made for hunting. Adding a Nosler suppressor to your rifle will make you a quieter, more accurate, and more effective hunter. Protect your hearing and disturb less game with a Nosler suppressor. The time to hunt quiet is now. Learn more at nosler.com.
Glenn, we've got a trivia question we want to ask you.
Good luck with that.
We took a break for about a month. We didn't ask any trivia questions, and now we're going to kind of kick it back off. I'm going to turn it over to Richie.
Oh,
this is our new
what
scene
do we
song
got
here.
here?
Let's see what Richie's come up with here.
What do we got?
Did you run that by the score committee?
Yeah, I guess that's still in the mail.
Okay,
In the process.
that's kind of what I thought.
All right, so our question here, our trivia here, is brought to us by our Mossy Oak Properties.
Hey, we like those
that?
guys.
It's our favorite real estate company.
It is our
It
favorite real
is
estate
indeed.
company by far.
And this is interesting here. Our prize winner this week is Blessed Bowhunter.
How about that? He left a review.
How about that?
Would that be blessed or blessed?
Bless.
Blessed.
So, I mean,
What'd he win?
surely that's not like Jeff, sidekick name there with, the name of his property.
No.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That was beloved.
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 Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Pay
pretty,
attention. Pay
that's
attention,
pretty
Richie.
close.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
asleep. Leave him
yeah.
alone. He was
Mark that
tired.
time
I
code,
was,
Richie.
I was awake for this one.
What did Blessed Bowhunter win?
Blessed Bowhunter won a vintage antler T-shirt.
Have you seen those, Lanny?
I've got one.
Yeah, they're really nice.
I got one. Sure do.
Toxie, we didn't get any 2X, so I think you're.
Well, guess what? I don't have one either, so you didn't get it from my closet.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying we don't have any 2Xs. So
Okay. Oh, you didn't do any of them for my in my size. Okay.
Surely we got a 2X.
I don't know. I didn't see any.
Bobby.
Y'all go on the web. Well, I don't know where you go, but somewhere on
GK Shop.
GPK Shop, and look at this vintage antler T-shirt.
It's got a
Yeah,
pocket.
I like it. And
Yeah.
it's got a
Pocket.
front pocket.
It's got a front
Yeah,
pocket.
What do you? And look, at my age, I have to keep up with my glasses. That pocket is perfect. Glenn, we'll send you one of these. Okay,
There
if
you go.
If you,
I am
Awesome.
I
I
am
was going
so
through
hurt.
my T-shirts today, Bobby, thinking I need to give old Bobby a call.
yeah. All right. Well, good luck with this question.
All right, here we go. What are the full names for the namesakes for Pope and Young Club?
Ooh.
All right, repeat that, please.
What are the full names of the namesakes for the Pope and Young Club?
Oh, that's a great question.
There's two men.
And I used to know it.
There's two men.
Yeah.
Anybody with 26
Oh.
Pope and Youngs, you would think that.
I used to know it too, and I can't remember.
Yeah, and so it's pretty.
I used to know that.
One of the
Oh,
of the
God.
guys. I'm gonna let you think while I'm talking here. But one of the guys had a friend that they say was the last Native American of this certain tribe.
Huh.
Taught him how to flint knap. Taught him how to build bows, and taught him about
Ichi.
bow hunting. I think that's maybe how you pronounce it. Yeah.
No.
pretty issue.
Pretty
Known
neat story.
as the
Ishi. ISH.
fathers of
Yeah.
bow hunting.
Yeah, now I would kind of. They say he's the father of modern bow hunting, but Fred Bear's got to figure into that.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I would think so. Well, I think Fred Bear was a little bit after that, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I know he was the biggest promoter of it.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, we've given you enough time. You ought to have been able to Google that.
it. Well, you were, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Google.
We haven't.
So what'd y'all come up with? I can't remember.
You want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Saxton Pope and Arthur Young.
Yeah.
And it says, and Glenn St. Charles.
I don't know about Glenn. St. Charles.
But it's not with two
I don't know
ends.
that one.
Yeah, they're the founders, is what it says.
I couldn't get what was I knew Saxon. What was the second one?
Arthur.
I
Young.
was wanting to say Alden for some reason.
Art is how it's usually you see Art Young. Is.
Gotcha.
But they got permission. This is pretty interesting. We have a bonus question here. Richard, ask that bonus question.
Where do they get special permission to hunt grizzly bears with bows?
Was it Kodiak?
Yeah.
No,
it's
that was
Yellowstone.
That's right.
Yellowstone.
Can you believe that?
Yellowstone?
Yes.
Good job, Ty.
So if I'm not mistaken, it's the same species, but if it's in
It's in Kodiak Island.
what if it's in Alaska, it's a brown bear, or maybe, but it's in the U.S., it's a grizzly.
So
Let,
never
let
thought
me
about
ask y'all
that.
this.
I think.
Can you enter, let me ask y'all this question then. Can you enter a New Zealand red stag in Pope and Young?
Ooh.
I'm going to say no
No.
because you asked the question.
New Zealand. Oh,
Yeah. Or a Pope, can you enter a fallow deer in Pope and Young?
I don't think you can a fallow deer.
I don't know. May not be. It's domestic to
Somewhere.
New Zealand.
It's
I
native
guess.
to somewhere.
Can you register any country in the world? I don't know that question.
I bet you they're kind of sort of domestic in a way, and they may have ruled it out. You know, like maybe they've been bred for bigger antlers or something and released or whatever.
Well, Pope and Young makes a scoring sheet for red stag, so I'm going to say yes.
Oh,
Oh, if they do, then yeah.
He
about
got
that?
you.
got him.
Yeah. What does Dudley owe you?
A T-shirt.
Five T-shirts.
Glenn, we always enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
You know, we got some.
It's always fun to be on here, and I want to say congratulations, Bobby, on your getting your daughter married the other day. That's awesome.
Oh,
I know
well,
you're proud.
You
Yeah,
just
thank
had
you.
to bring it up.
Broke
Yeah.
that plate.
I'm relieved to get all that behind me.
Well, you were so stressed at first.
You know, I called Glenn and asked his advice on a couple things, and you know,
gave
I
you some
I asked
advice.
He
Jeff's
was.
advice. Jeff gave me a little tidbit of something funny to say, and I couldn't say it.
Yeah,
Bobby
I
was-
remember. Yeah, that's
Bobby
right.
was so nervous about it. He said, you know, when he got there, he realized how much fun he was having. He didn't even think about how much fun it would be.
Yeah,
'cause
and I mean, he
he
was
was so
having-
worked up and nervous.
No, but you were at the middle to the end of the evening. You were really having fun, having put on such a great party for everybody because
Yeah.
it was a beautiful setting. Everything, food, music, all of it, and I think I know you're glad you don't have to do it but once.
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying that. We did have a good time.
Yeah, well, tell her we said congratulations. We're mighty proud of her, too.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
Special night.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. That was a lot of fun. Dudley, you got that to look forward to.
Yeah, can't wait.
Don't bring it up.
Yeah, a couple of them.
So, guys, deer season, and we're right here. Glenn's hunting.
Yeah,
A lot of
we
folks
should
are
be.
about
We're
to-
not. We
Yeah.
should have been, but
We're
Bobby scheduled
podcasting
this. So,
Yeah.
every afternoon.
Bobby doesn't care about that anymore.
Yeah. All right.
So wait, to end it
Hey,
up, you
see-
asked me.
Yeah, just
Go ahead.
see if we have one at 1:30 after October 15th. Huh?
Yeah, well, you won't be here.
No, I actually have to be now. I'm gonna miss it too. But let's do that. Let's do one on the 15th. Just out of
We can do it in the morning, but like 10 o'clock that morning.
If it's a
Yeah.
north wind,
how inconsiderate.
we got to do a podcast.
I got to edit this.
Yes, you
You're
do.
killing me here. What was your question?
So, the $12,500. Would you write the check?
I don't know.
You'd have wrote the check, but you wouldn't have given cash.
Oh, I don't have cash. I'd have worked out
Can we
some
put
kind of
that on the
hours.
Discover card?
I'd have given it and it said, you might want to keep this. This hour.
these,
you-
all
Bobby-
these IOUs are perfectly good.
Bobby would have been in his mind going over and over that famous saying: "It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission."
Melissa will understand.
So, have y'all ever heard the story of I've heard a story about a guy that was hunting someplace, kind of like what Glenn just described, but he was told there was a deer he could not shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there were a bunch of bucks out there, and the guide said, okay, you can shoot that deer, but you can't shoot this deer over here. It's going to cost X amount. And the guy shoots that deer. And then,
Is that the video you're talking about that circulated the world?
well, I don't know that I saw that video, Glenn, but I've just heard a story that
You
like
can
that.
Google it, and that guy, that was filmed on the Perlitz Ranch, and that guy in the video used to hunt here with us. His name's John Swinehart, but they made that video and it went viral. But it is funny. You need to go Google it and watch it because it is funny.
So what'd they do to him?
Did they shoot the wrong deer?
He
Or the
didn't
right
shoot
deer.
the wrong deer. They staged the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Even better.
Okay.
Yeah, Now you know.
Now we know.
Glenn's got all the scoop.
He does.
You know, he did with all, he's got the place, he's got the expertise, he's got the best guide who will give him unlimited resources to take care of stuff. But you heard him say, number one, the foundation of his place is the habitat.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Yeah, and diversity.
And I remember being over there and them seeing what they were doing. They were thinning their mature pines way down more than I'd be comfortable with. And they were running that roller crimper big thing.
Black
y'all bought.
Betty. You still got Black Betty?
Yeah, and they were managing. And Jeff told me, he said, after all these years of doing this, nothing replaces. And we talked about increasing your carrying capacity to its maximum first before you worry about all the other supplemental things.
Correct.
Black Betty. She was a
And
bad
so when,
mamma
I
jamma.
just have to say that when Glenn says it, and he's based on results, not just theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, Glenn, you got anything else you want to add or point out or say?
No, just thank y'all for including me. It's always a pleasure and fun to be around you guys and talk to you. Can't wait to see you again. Y'all can head this way at any time you want to.
You got to get on that
Doors
doe
are
patrol.
always open.
We
That's
do.
right.
Yeah.
We do. We miss y'all a bunch.
Yeah, we do.
Glenn and I are working on something, so we'll keep everybody posted. So.
Tenderloins for everybody.
All right. Well, guys, thank you, Glenn. We enjoyed having you. And, guys, y'all don't forget Tuesday nights. There's been 3 presidential debates that have aired at the exact
And
same
we
time.
Have you
should
not
go.
called somebody about that and got them to
It's-
change it yet?
Our television show airs at 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. There's been 3 presidential debates
You know
at
what?
8 o'clock.
And we're powering on and doing great. Ratings are great. Appreciate everybody that sticks with us.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's just great. Lanny, what did you watch last night?
The back of my eyelids.
All right, guys. Well, look, we appreciate everybody watching that show. Richie works hard on it. And look, we appreciate everybody listening to these podcasts.
Yes, we do.
It's a lot of
Appreciate you.
fun. Dudley, you got anything to add?
I was just going to say goodbye.
Oh yeah, good luck on y'all's big adventure coming up.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Next time y'all hear Dudley on one of our podcasts, he will have been on his inaugural elk hunt.
Yep.
And
Him and and McKiller.
that's right.
McKiller. Me and McKiller
Yes,
driving in the
I'm
morning.
so excited for them.
I am too. I'm a little jealous, but really excited.
Well, thanks for handling all my phone calls and emails.
No, that
Lanny.
will not be happening.
Yeah, you still need to check your emails while
Sure
you're
we
out
will.
there.
Yeah. We'll forward every one of them to you.
Good.
No problem.
All right, guys, it's been fun. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.